I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. If you've been looking at our website, starborninstitute.org, you would already know that the title of tonight's show is First Strike. And the reason why there is the possibility of a dangerous first strike anytime now is because there are planets in the volatile, fast-acting fire signs right now, and they are strongly trining each other, and that includes the 3 malefic planets, so there's nothing stopping them. And that is because the Sun is in Aries along with Mercury there, and Uranus is in Aries as well. And so preparations for a first strike or it can be getting underway, or certainly the planning could be going on right now for a first strike. And the reason why is that Mercury and Uranus are exactly conjunct each other in the sign of Aries. And Aries does rule new beginnings, and it certainly does rule people who want to be first. So there is a problem with that, because the 3 planets in Aries are trining Mars, the planet of war, aggression, hate, greed, jealousy, and envy, in Sagittarius, and Saturn is in Sagittarius as well. And those are 2 malefic planets up to sort of no good right now, and there's nothing stopping their evil because they're being backed up and fortified by all 3 planets in Aries. Sagittarius rules the traditional 9th house of the higher mind and religion and philosophy, and it rules 4-year colleges and universities, and it rules people from foreign countries. It certainly rules long-distance travel, and it rules the whole judicial system, and so it rules the courts as well. And there can be trouble, perhaps with some rather very high legal issue right now. And it can be that somebody does not want to adhere to it, and they may be planning some sort of first strike right now. And yet those 5 planets who have their energy flowing unrestricted among the fire signs and are up to absolutely no good are themselves being threatened. And that is because the 3 planets in Aries, the Sun, Mercury, and Uranus, are being harshly squared by the Moon today and Pluto, which are in Capricorn. Capricorn rules management in large corporations or government agencies, and it can simply be with the Moon there that there can be somebody, perhaps a woman, in a powerful position that wants to maintain the status quo or wants to preserve a large institution or a very large government agency, or simply wants to follow through and do things in a correct and proper manner for the long-term good, because Capricorn does rule time. And yet, with the Moon in Capricorn squaring the Sun in Aries, when the Sun and Moon square each other, it simply means that people can be undecided or confused about an issue. And so there is the possibility that whoever is planning or preparing for a first strike certainly doesn't have the long-term interests of anybody else in mind, but they can be getting countered right now by some very strong individual or a very strong organization or a government agency. The other 2 planets in fire signs, Mars and Saturn in Sagittarius, are being challenged as well. And that is because Venus and Neptune in Pisces are squaring Mars and Saturn. When Mars and Venus square each other, it means men and women's relationships are not running smoothly, and there can be arguments. And when Saturn and Venus square or oppose each other, it can indicate a betrayal. So not everyone's on the same page as far as wanting to do evil goes. Maybe they don't all agree on how much evil they want to do. And so behind the scenes, people who are idealistic or sort of wishful thinkers and can be wanting the best for everyone are really coming up against other people who don't want that at all. They want the worst for everyone. But they're countering with their good intentions, and that is a good idea. And then Mars and Saturn are also being squared by Jupiter in Virgo. Jupiter rules abundance of things, and it's in Virgo, a fact-finding sign. So there's plenty of evidence or plenty of proof about people who can be fraudulent or who can have gambled quite a bit, and that gambling has come to an end, or some sort of cover-up or lie that they had been pursuing successfully is certainly not going to be upheld by the facts. In other words, the facts are going to speak the truth. And whoever has been gambling or lying is going to be caught in that right now. So there are problems with the first strike, but there can still be the possibility of a very sudden surprise right now, or some sort of first strike based on evil intent. And so you really have to keep your guard up this week and be very, very careful. And that is because in the end, the truth is going to come out, but it's going to have a hard time doing it. And that is because Jupiter in Virgo is trining both the moon and Pluto today in Capricorn. So based on proven evidence, some institution or people in management are going to be upheld in their decision to maintain the status quo for the long-term security of everyone. But it is going to be a hard road for them, and it's going to be a challenge for us to react to any uncertain or unstable or quick change right now. There is the possibility of a cyber attack because Uranus rules computers, and it is conjuncting Mercury, and those planets are with the Sun in Aries, which does rule wanting to be first, wanting to be ahead of everyone else. And Uranus also rules rebellion. So wherever this first strike is going to hit, it will probably be successful because it's the first one. But will it be conclusive? No, I don't think it is going to be conclusive. In fact, I think it's going to end up causing more problems than it's worth. And the reason why is because the planets in Aries are being so forcefully squared by the moon and Pluto. And that simply means that there's a lot of resistance. Other people have completely different ideas about how to accomplish a goal right now. It's just that I want to urge you, with a first strike, there is an element both of evil and of danger. And you have to be very, very careful right now and really be on the defense, because whatever is going to happen really quickly, and it will take people by surprise. So guard your information that is online, make sure that that is protected, and this is simply a time when you shouldn't be speeding at all or going too fast, and you should be on the defensive against anyone else who wants to do things very quickly or only wants to do it their way and won't listen to anybody else. That could be a recipe for disaster right now. And so no, I don't think that a first strike will be conclusive. In fact, what I think will happen is that this is going to be the beginning of the end for somebody. In other words, even if they're successful the first time, it'll be the beginning of the end for them. And that is a person that could be at the head of a government. They could be ahead of a large organization. They could be very, very rebellious. They could certainly be arrogant, but it would be the beginning of the end even if their first strike was successful. It doesn't mean everything else would be. In fact, I don't think it would be at all. But that's why we have to be careful this week. All right, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, it is your sign that is absolutely loaded right now because the Sun, Mercury, and Uranus are all in your sign, and they are trining Mars and Saturn in Sagittarius, two other malefic planets. And there's nothing stopping that energy in a trine. And so I think that if you want to start off and go in a new direction, you certainly could succeed at that, at least initially, but perhaps not conclusively. And the reason why is there can be somebody around with very high credentials that has a lot of power, and they can be in complete disagreement with you right now, Aries, and that is because the moon and Pluto in Capricorn are squaring the planets in your sun sign. And there is the possibility that in your effort to want to be first with something, and you could, if it's something wonderful, you could certainly have good intentions, but it can also be that you're being goaded by other people who have other things in mind. In other words, they could be jealous, they could be angry, they could be vengeful, they could be on the war path, and they could be urging you to move forward and sort of do their dirty work for them. Don't do it, Aries. This is a time when, believe it or not, you really ought to slow down, because there can be confusion or indecision, and that could mess things up. And so that is why you should sort of retreat a little bit right now. And I know you probably won't listen to me because you can feel very energized and convinced that you're absolutely right about something. But you know, what are the consequences going to be of your actions? How long will you be right? Are a lot of people going to agree with you? You need to ask yourself a few more questions about where your energy is headed. This is a time when you can make a long-distance trip and travel very quickly, so you might want to do that. But otherwise, if you're just out to make sure that you know, you're the winner and there's no one else standing, you could be the winner initially, but otherwise, no. And that is why I think you should ask yourself a little bit more about what your actions are going to lead to in the end, Aries, and whether you'll be really happy with them. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, this is a time when I think that you are going to be very happy and perhaps recognized by someone in an influential position that could perhaps suggest a promotion for you or give you some sort of accolade or award right now, because both the moon and Pluto in Capricorn are trining your sun, and Jupiter in Virgo is also trining your sun. So I think you're getting along pretty well with people right now. And if there is some sort of investment that you're thinking about right now, I think you should pursue that, Taurus, because the terms, you know, if you're careful with your book work, the terms could be pretty enticing right now. So you should think about doing something that could feather your nest a little bit more, or ensure your long-term security, or provide wealth for your loved ones, because yours is the sign of the good provider. But on the other hand, with those 3 planets in Aries right behind your sun sign, Taurus, it means that there can be a lot of volatility and instability in the background of your life. And also there could be somebody else, or maybe it's you, planning a first strike or a move behind the scenes that would catch everyone by surprise. If somebody else is initiating sudden change, I urge you not to react quickly to it, Taurus, because it could jeopardize your rather solid position. But if you think that the grass is greener somewhere else and you want to move on, I don't think that there's anybody that's actually going to stop you. Just make sure that it's for the best in the long run, Taurus, not just because you feel like you want to make a quick change. Just ask yourself what it's all going to cost and if it's going to do you good in the long run. Because if it is, then maybe that's what you're going to do, but it'll be surprising to a lot of people if you do it. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, this is a time when I think you need to be pretty careful. And the reason why is that there are a lot of planets in mutable signs, and you know, that's no news to you. You have been pummeled on all sides by challenges recently, in the recent months, and it's going to continue that way because Venus and Neptune are squaring your sun in Pisces, Jupiter in Virgo is squaring your sun, and Mars and Saturn in Sagittarius are opposing your sun sign, and they are really activated right now by the 3 planets in Aries that are trining them. So Gemini, I think there is somebody that is going to cause a commotion in your life, or is going to perhaps be threatening to you in one way or another. And you really need to walk softly, talk softly, and step back if you can. And that is because I think there is going to be a first strike somewhere. Oddly enough, because the three planets in Aries sextile your sun, you may end up benefiting by a first strike. And I don't think it will be against you unless you respond in kind, in the same way that other people are trying to attack you. In other words, if you lose your temper, or if you decide you're going to settle a grudge, then you're more or less asking for it, and you're going to get it, Gemini. So instead, try to back off and be really quiet right now, so that when there is a first strike, since that sextiles your sun, that may leave a better opening for you, but you would have to be very quiet and alert to that. And that's why I urge you not to overreact right now. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, this is a time when you too have to be very, very careful, because inadvertently you could be the victim of a first strike. And that is because those powerful planets in Aries, the Sun, Mercury, and Uranus, which are being backed up by Mars and Saturn right now, are forcefully squaring your sun sign. And that is why you need to be careful. And we have to remember that both America and Canada are ruled by Cancer. And there could be the possibility of a challenging first strike. And if it doesn't occur immediately, it can be in the works. It can be in the planning stages, or there could be preparation for that now. So Cancer, you have to try to make sure that you're not knocked off your feet or off balance right now. And that will be a little difficult for you, because the Moon and Pluto in Capricorn are opposing your sun, which means there can be budget cuts, or there can be the possibility of a move right now for you. And that could be a sort of a strain on you as well. And so, you know, you're going to have to just take one day at a time and sort of talk softly and walk slowly right now, because you could be the victim of somebody's sudden rebellious attitude, and they could decide to strike out against you or against somebody else. And that is why you really need to keep your defenses up this week, Cancer, and sort of hole up for a while and stay home and just play it safe if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, these 5 planets that are in fire signs, the 3 in Aries and the 2 in Sagittarius, are all trining your sun sign, Leo. So, oh boy, if a first strike occurs, you could be involved in it in one way or another. And so, you know, you need to keep your eyes open for things that are coming at you real fast, or for quick changes, or for people who could be bearing a grudge, or who could be very, very angry. I don't think they're angry at you, Leo, because those 5 planets trine your sun. But still, you could be swept up in the commotion that results from a first strike, or you could be involved in sudden change right now, even some sort of accident, or some sort of cyber warfare or cyber crime right now. Not that you would be initiating it, but you might be the victim of it. In other words, identity theft, for instance. So you really do have to be very, very careful. At the same time, you can be very energized right now. The problem is you could sort of trip over your own feet right now, Leo, because there's too much energy in the dynamic fire signs. And that means that people that move ahead quickly are probably going to be prone to making mistakes. And if that happens to you, Leo, you're going to have to back up and do something over again, and that would not make you happy. But there is a possibility that if you move too quickly, you could be making some pretty bad mistakes right now, so you too have to be careful. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, remember I said there are 5 planets in the mutable signs right now, and that can be challenging the 2 planets that are in Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is a mutable sign, and they are planets that are malefic planets. Mars rules war, and Saturn rules obstruction and delay. And they are being really well backed up by the 3 planets in Aries, but they square your sun sign where you have Jupiter. And that simply means, although you are loaded with facts and figures and you know what you're doing, Virgo, and you are well liked by management, there can be people with grudges that could want to make trouble for you. They could certainly want to slow you down because they don't know how to speed up and react quickly to problem solving, and you are actually very good at problem solving. And on top of that, other people can just be evil right now, or want to make war, or want to trip you up in one way or another. And so you've got to really stick to the facts. In fact, this is a time when people with a lot of integrity can be challenged, but they will not fail. They'll do just fine. It just can be very nerve-wracking for you right now, Virgo, because there are other people that refuse to face reality, and they're awfully good at lying, but oh boy, their cover is blown now. And so I think that you really are going to have to fight for what you believe in, and that means the way you can do that is just keep doing what you're doing, Virgo, because you are very good at problem solving or being of service to others, and that's something the world always needs, and you are appreciated by people at the top because you're good at that, so keep it up. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is simply a time when I think you too have to be extremely careful, because you are vulnerable to a first strike, Libra, and that is because the Sun, Mercury, and Uranus are all opposing your sun sign. And even though they are being squared by the Moon and Pluto in Capricorn, your sign is also being squared by the Moon and Pluto. And that simply means that there can be budget cuts somewhere, or there can be somebody in upper management that doesn't quite agree with the way you want to do things, and that could prove to be very, very challenging to do. And there can be arrogant people around who do not want to listen to you because they want to do everything their own way. So this can be quite a trying time for you. And that is because there are already 5 planets in the cardinal signs, all squaring and opposing each other and causing trouble at home and also causing trouble in relationships. So you really have to sort of hang on to things that will make you happy and make you feel peaceful right now. So I would say hang on to your art, or hang on to anything that is beautiful, because that can calm you down and make you feel better through these tumultuous times. And really, if you see something coming at you too fast, duck, Libra, because you could be a victim of a first strike now, and I hope that doesn't happen. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is simply a time when I think that you are going to have to be on the alert as well. Not because anything is actually coming at you, and that is because there are no planets in any of the fixed signs. So I don't think that you're going to be directly challenged. And on top of that, Venus and Neptune in Pisces are trining your Sun, which means behind the scenes you have a lot of sympathy and support right now. So why don't you stick to making a dream come true, or being very supportive of others who can't help themselves, who need a little charity and maybe a little forgiveness. And so they perhaps could rely on your strength to shield them in times of terror or in times of attack. So you can be helpful sort of behind the scenes, Scorpio, but I don't think you're going to be a victim of a first strike, although it could be hitting pretty close to home. I don't think it will be hitting you. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarius? Well, Sagittarius, this is simply a time when if you overreact in any way, you could be successful at backing up a first strike or something that some person wants to do all on their own terms. But how much good is it going to do you, Sagittarius? I wonder, because you know you've got enough to worry about without a first strike, and that is because Venus and Neptune are squaring your Sun, meaning that there are some things that you just don't want to face, and they could involve doubts and fears behind the scenes that you don't want to face, so you can be trying to escape them in some way. And Jupiter in Virgo is squaring your Sun, which means there's definitely a health matter or a matter involving banking that is quite challenging to you right now, and you could be feeling as if bills are overwhelming you. You could be feeling overwhelmed about something, And, you know, that is why I think you need to slow down and not respond to other people who want to take charge right now. I don't think it's going to do you any good. And on top of that, you're worried enough as it is. So try not to seek other things to worry about. They could really do you in right now. So be careful. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time with the Moon and Pluto in your sign, trining Jupiter in Virgo, when you can be very convinced about something that has to be done right and properly and for the good of others in the long run. And so this is a time when, if you're running your own business, you can be firmly in charge and doing well with the details and the facts, and that can be to your credit. Your health could also be improving right now, which is wonderful. But you still need to watch out for the possibility of a first strike or something very jarring that can come out of nowhere. And that is because the Sun, Mercury, and Uranus are squaring your Sun where you have the Moon and Pluto today. So there can be some sort of arrogant challenge to your authority, Capricorn, and you are just going to have to ignore those people or stand your ground, because you've got the truth on your side and you know it. Okay, you're real sure of your facts. And so you just need to stick to that and not listen to anybody else or respond to anybody that wants to make a first strike. Just get out of their way and don't be a target for them, Capricorn, because they're not your type anyway. In fact, I would just slam the door in their face. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, this is a time when you need to be very, very careful. Not because there's anything directly challenging you, and that's because there are no planets in any of the fixed signs. But you still need to be careful because it's your ruler that's stirring things up, Uranus. And it is in that dynamic, impulsive fire sign, Aries, along with Mercury and the Sun, and they are all trining Mars and Saturn in Sagittarius. You might find yourself right in the middle of somebody else's fight. Or a first strike could involve you in one way or another. And so you need to be very careful. It's like you got to watch where you walk right now, Aquarius, because, oh boy, you could really walk into something and without any intention of doing that, really. In fact, it could be accidental, and then you would be in the middle of something that would be so overwhelming that it could almost destroy you. And that is why you need to step back and really be cautious right now, Aquarius. Once again, not because of any perceived threat, but due to the fact that something accidental could happen so quickly that you could get hurt by it. So be careful. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, this is a time with Venus and Neptune in your sun sign that you can somewhat withdraw and sort of crawl into a little shell and be happy by yourself. And that's because you have such wonderful planets in your sign, making you very highly idealistic and wanting the best for everybody. But right ahead of your sun sign are these unstable, rebellious planets in Aries that are being backed up and trined by malefic planets in Sagittarius. And that is why I think that you might be a person who is able to stand back and see something awful happening and be a witness to something that happens really quickly, even a first strike. But you don't need to be involved in it, Pisces. You can sort of stay out of it if you want to, and I strongly urge you to do that because there's a lot of safety and happiness in sort of closing the door and being by yourself right now. So I hope you stick to that. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show and you can subscribe to it on our website, starborninstitute.org. Bye.